Okay, starting out, I've got my base square piece of paper, and I grabbed 3 different pieces of scrap paper. I'm going to start by just cutting little rectangles up and down my page, and then cut them off kind of like fringe. So just lots of little cuts up and down, and then cut them all off together at the same time. That way I have quite a few pieces to start. I'm not going to do too much just in case that I don't need any more. I don't want to have too many scraps left over that are this tiny. And I'm going to go ahead and get started with what I've got. I'm going to use my glue, paint on just a little bit of glue on the back, and then start to line up these small strings, or I guess I could say small lines. Now, we don't want anything to hang off the edge. They can overlap each other. They can be shorter or thinner, but we don't want them hanging off the edge of the paper, and they're staying in one direction. So if I'm going up and down, every single piece is going up and down, or if I'm going side to side, every single piece is going side to side. So these first few pieces that I cut off are all pretty long, so I'm going to leave some of those shorter openings for some other pieces that I can cut here in a second. So I'm going to just get the bigger parts of my paper covered, and I'm kind of taking a little bit of a pattern, going green and yellow in between each patterned piece of paper. That way I never have anything that's the same right up on top of each other. And then after I looked at this for a while, I decided I needed a different color option. So I went back to the scrap bin and grabbed a red piece of scrap paper and cut off a few shorter pieces of red to kind of fill in those gaps. And you see that one's hanging off the paper just a little bit. So I'll go back in with some scissors here in a second and cut off that piece that's hanging off. But I think that this was a really good decision to add another color. That way I don't have too many of the same colors side by side. And I don't want to leave any gaps. Of course, really tiny gaps are okay, but I'm trying to cover every inch of this square here. Okay, I'm going to finish this up, cut a few more pieces off of that same piece of scrap paper that I used at first. Again, I'm getting a little bit full, so I don't want to cut off too many, but I want to make sure that my base piece gets completely covered in lines. And I'm going to fill this whole space going in the same direction, and here it is all finished.